Hey software, welcome back. We are about to start learning our next lesson on arrays, which is going to be all about how to get a random value from an array. I know we've talked about random before, and I think we haven't really done it justice. I don't think we realize just how frequently randomized things show up in like code and things we use every day. It's one way that we can add like a level of unpredictability and make sure that people want to come back and use our program over and over so that they're always getting different results. So for this program, you have some starter code. Please make sure that you open it up, go to File, Duplicate to make your own copy, and then let's just take a look at what we have here. As usual, make sure your screen is set up so you can see me and you can see your code. And remember that you can always watch this video on whatever speed you like, as well as pausing and rewatching whenever you need to. So we see in this code that I've made a variable called foods. And in setup, just again, because I think that's a pretty good habit for us to be in, I have made foods equal to an array. I see the square brackets telling me it's an array of different foods. Each one is in quotes because it is just a string of characters the computer will not understand. It's not a variable or a value that I can just plug in normally. And they are all separated by commas because that is how I separate separate items in a list. So I have all of these foods, and then in draw right now it says text size 36 to make my text really big, and it says what should I eat, and that's all my program is. What I would like to have happen is I would like it to display text for a random food so that whenever I hit play, or like if I was running this as a normal previewed website, whenever I refresh, I will get a new food. It'll tell me something new to eat every single time. And we can imagine a step up from this would maybe be to make a button that's clickable, kind of like you did in the Unit 2 project, where I could click a button and if I didn't like my choice, it would pick something new, like a new random thing for me to eat. So let's start out by just getting a food on the screen. So I'm going to go to the end of line 12, I'm going to bounce down, and I'm going to make another text command, and I'm just going to try and get one food on the screen. So I'm going to put foods, my square brackets, let's put food 4 on the screen, and I need to give it an X and a Y, so the X can stay 50, the Y can be 120 maybe. Let's hit play, and we see that it now tells me I should eat mofongo. If I put foods 8, it tells me I should eat soup dumplings. So I know that I can get values from this list. But I want it to be random because right now if I hit play, it's always going to tell me soup dumplings. And this is actually bothering me. I'm going to move it down to 140 just so it looks separate. Oh, that looks nicer. Okay. So if I hit play, it's just telling me soup dumplings. So I want this number here, this 8, I want that to be a random value. And we know how to save random values to a variable. So up at the top of my code, I'm going to make a new variable, and I'm going to call it food choice. I think food choice is a good name for it. This is going to hold a random number to pick a food from the list. That's the purpose of food choice. Again, with variable names, remember I could call them anything. I could call this selector, food selector, random selector, whatever I want. But its purpose, no matter the name, even if you call it like body lotion, is still going to be to pick a number and randomly and use that to find food from my list. So I have my variable set up. Inside the setup function, let's worry about giving this variable a value. So I know I want this to be a random number, so I'm going to put in that food choice is equal to something random. And the random number it is equal to is going to be between 0 and the length of this list. Now, we haven't talked about this too much, but I can find the length of a list by typing the list name, in this case it is foods, and then dot length. This is going to return the length of a list. So even though this doesn't look like a number, the computer is going to go in, count everything up, and return a number, and that is going to be the highest possible thing that food choice can pick from. Now before I plug this into my code, I just want to check on it. So I'm going to console.log food choice, which again is right now a random number between, I can make this a little bit bigger, between 0 and the length of my food list. So right now if I hit play, I see that food choice does indeed give me a number, But we're running into this problem that we saw back when we first learned about random, where I'm getting this crazy decimal number. And if you recall from our first lesson in arrays, all of these array items have index values. I know stir fry is index value 0. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like so on and so forth until I'm done with my list, right? Here's my problem. My random number right now is 3.297433, blah, 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 blah. I have no idea where that is on the list. If you handed me this list and said, go find 3.2974, blah, 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 I would look at you like you are the most insane person in the room, because that's not on here. It goes from 3 to 4. I don't know how to tell you, like, there's nothing between tacos and mofongo. So your computer's going to have the same problem. If I tried to plug food choice in for this number right now, it would get really mad at me. So before I can use it, I need to find a way to round this to a nice value. And there are a few built-in ways to do this, both in JavaScript and in P5. So in JavaScript as a whole, there is a function called floor, which is always going to round down to the nearest value. In P5, there's a function called int, which works similarly, but I like to use int for you guys because int sounds like integer. It's going to take this number, it's going to round it to an integer. It's a little bit more intuitive and nicer to remember than floor. So this is how we use int. Int is a function. It looks like this. I'm going to delete it from right there, but it looks like that. I'm going to wrap this whole random statement in an int function. So before random, I'm going to write int. I'm going to open up a parenthesis, and then I'm going to close my parenthesis after the end of random. So see how right now this parenthesis is boxed at the end with the first one from int? The whole random 0 to foods.length is inside of there. So that is going to take whatever number it returns, and it's going to turn it into the closest integer. So now when I hit play, I get 12, I get 0, I get 11, I get 10. I'm getting nice integer usable numbers. And that means that now I can take this variable and I can go stick it in place of this 8. The 8 that is there now is what we call hard coding, meaning the number is always there and always going to change. When I put in food choice, now I have something that is variable that will change every time. So now we see that food choice picked 5, which means it showed 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Saag paneer is our item number 5, index 5 on my list. So it shows up as saag paneer on the screen. If I hit play again, I am going to get 6, which says pho. That's correct. And I can keep hitting play, and every time I'm going to get something new and different. And that is how we pick something random out of a list. We make a variable that will hold a random number. We allow it to choose a random number out of all the possible things in our list. And then we use that variable in place of the hard-coded number when we call individual items from our array. There's no challenge for you guys today. I just want you to think on this and make sure you get some notes down in your classwork. You'll be using this next week to make a really cool fortune teller project. Thanks, guys.